Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here and welcome to my Friday Reads. Today I'm going to be talking about 3 books that I read this week and I was really lucky because 2 of them were 5 stars, so it was a really good reading week for me. But before I do that, I want to do my Booktuber Shoutout of the week, and this week I want to shout out Jessica from Between Stories. I've really enjoyed discovering Jessica's channel. She's really enthusiastic, really smiley, she's really funny, and I really love the content that she puts out. She reads a lot of similar books to me. She reads quite a lot of YA, but she reads other books as well. I believe she's from Germany, I think. So it's always nice to find booktubers from other countries, and I just really have been enjoying watching her videos. So as always, I'll have her link down below and go and check her out, and if you like what you see, show her some love and subscribe. So anyway, let's move on to the books that I read this week. So the first book I read was Dragon's Blade, The Reborn King by Michael R. Miller. Full disclaimer, this was sent to me by the author. He contacted me and asked if I would be interested in reading his book, and after reading the blurb I thought, it sounds interesting. It's fantasy, it sounds like a sort of questy type book, and it just looked really good, and I thought I'd pick it up, and he was so lovely. He signed it for me, which was lovely. And what I really love, it's a self-published book, I believe, but it's so soft. You know when you get those really soft buttery covers? It is really soft and I love it, and I absolutely adore the design of this front cover. If you look at it, it looks like a dragon, but if you look closely and once you've read the book, it makes more sense. This is actually the dragon's blade. It's a sword, so this is obviously the hilt, I think it's called, of the sword, so you would hold that bit in your hand, and it has got the dragon elements to it, which I think is a fantastically designed front cover. I just couldn't put this book down. It was such a brilliant read. It's set in a world where dragons look like humans. In years past they looked like dragons, but they have changed and they now look human, but they are a lot stronger and have certain capabilities, and they are slightly bigger than sort of your average human. And it's set in a world where dragons and fairies and humans are working together in order to try and defeat this evil demon empire that are trying to overtake. And it is the story of one of the dragons. He is a dragon prince called Damur, I think is how you pronounce his name, Darnur, and Darnur, and he is the dragon prince. And during a battle at the very beginning of the story, he is badly injured, and in order to help him survive, because his father the king is no longer around, they do what's sort of magic, which is like to be reborn. And so he goes back into his infancy and loses all the memories of his past, and so he's brought up not knowing that he is a dragon and that he is a prince. And so what I really loved about that part of the book is it's not a massive section, but it's done really well. It's done in sort of these chunks, and then you get sort of 2 weeks later and then 6 months later. So we're going through sort of 18 years of his life really quickly, and I really loved how that was done, and it felt very cinematographic for me. I could imagine and picture how it would be done if it was done in a film, and I really liked that way of it. I loved the writing, I loved this story, I loved the characters, I love the world. I absolutely adore this, and I can't wait for the second one to come out. One thing to be aware of if you decide to read this, it ends on a cliffhanger, so be prepared. There is a cliffhanger, but it's well worth the read. It reminded me of the Lord of the Rings story, and not in that sort of quest type, but in the sort of richness of the world and the characters, and you're really rooting for people. And I loved the fact that there was these fairies, and the dynamic between the humans and the dragons, and the animosity between different sort of races, but how they were working together against the common goal. And then we also get get these trolls come in later in the story, and I just absolutely love this, and I gave it 5 stars if you haven't gathered already. The other 5-star read this week, I am very late to the party on this one, but I finally read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This is one of my really lovely cloth-bound classic editions, and I loved reading from it. It's got a beautiful sort of tassel bookmark. I read this along with a number of other ladies, which was really great fun. All of them obviously had read it before, and they were chatting to me about my thoughts, and I just adored this. I'm very well versed in the story of Pride and Prejudice. I've watched the BBC adaptation, I've watched the film with Keira Knightley, which consequently I have also now watched again since reading this week, and I loved the story, and the book does not disappoint. I can see how faithful the adaptations have been, and it's just so witty and easy to read and interesting and fun, and it's really restored my faith in classics after my blip with the old Vanity Fair last month, and I can't wait to read more Jane Austen now. I am a true believer, so this one was a 5-star read as well. The next book I read was called Never Tear Us Apart by Monica Murphy. I was sent this book by Bookbridger and the publisher via Bookbridger, so for an honest review, so full disclaimer there. And this book has me a little bit conflicted. I really liked the idea of the story behind this, that it's a relationship between a victim and her rescuer. I liked that idea, and I thought it would be a really interesting story for a romance. However, I'm not really entirely sure I liked the way that it was handled. It's the story of Katie and Ethan. Katie is 12 when she is abducted from a fairground by a man who then rapes her and beats her, and she is rescued on her 3rd day by his son, who didn't know this was going on, and discovers her and rescues her, and he helps her get to the police station. They lose touch. This is now years later, 8 years later, and it's about them forming a relationship. However, he keeps it hidden who he is, and I just wasn't okay with that. I just think I wasn't okay with that, and I would have been and it's not this is all written on the back, so this isn't a spoiler, but I think the story would have been much more powerful had he been honest and upfront and they met again as adults, knowing who each other was. I would have been much more interested in that love story, in them overcoming their issues and their past, and possibly the overcoming the obstacles of people being against them being together, because her mother is obviously not wanting her to be with the son of her rapist and kidnapper, and I would have been much more interested in seeing that story come about, rather than the basis of this story being that he didn't tell her and lies to her and pretends that he doesn't know her when he knows obviously her. And yeah, I wasn't okay with that, and it didn't feel right to me, and it didn't sit very well. So it was an interesting read. It was a fast read, and I liked the premise of the story, but there was just bits of it that left me feeling a bit uncomfortable, and so I couldn't give this more than 3 stars. So that's all the books that I've completed this week. I'm currently partway through Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits by David Wong, which is a book I'm reading with Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings and Caitlin from Kitty G. This is a romp of a funny book. It's just hilarious. There's all sorts of things going on. It's very, very funny, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's very out of my comfort zone, but I'm enjoying reading it and chatting to the girls, so I will tell you a bit more about this one next week in my wrap up then. This week I've got quite a few books to read. I've got a couple of buddy reads coming up, so I'm looking forward to all of those. What have you been reading? Have you read any of these? Let me know your thoughts on them. As always, I look forward to speaking to you in the comments, and go and check out Jessica's channel because she's brilliant, and you should all go and check her out, and I hope that you love her as much as I do. Anyway, that's it for this week, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, Booktube.